This episode is being brought to you by Autodesk, and Destiny and I have such a good conversation about with working within the film, animation, media industry, doesn't matter in what capacity, just like how do you create and cultivate authentic communities and connections. So if that's been something you've been struggling with or wanted to know how you can maybe do it better, you're going to want to check out this episode. As I mentioned, I am so happy and that I finally get to have friend, supporter. I partially don't even really remember how we met, to be honest.
Either.
It's kind of like
it was in one of the, and I was like, I know Monique, and I was like, how do I know Monique? We just know each other.
Yeah, we just popped up, and I'm pretty sure it's because of social media.
Yeah.
So yes, you hear the voice, everything, you see the face. Destiny, can you tell my listeners a little bit about where you're from and where you're currently residing in the world in this interweb space?
Sure. So I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio. So I was born in Cleveland, raised in Columbus, Ohio, and I currently reside in Brooklyn, New York. So that's where I'm at now. And I've been here for like almost 10 years, I think. It's been a long time.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's been really cool.
How was that adjustment for you?
It was, first off, I think everyone who's been here like a long time says this, like you just cannot believe, how fast time goes by, but it was a huge adjustment for me. Columbus, although it's a city, it's still like a very, smaller, city. And it's just, I don't think there's anywhere that's like New York. So it's crazy. And like just living in New York, it's so much. I mean, I think on TV they show like glamorous part, like all this nice stuff. But when you're like actually just living here as like a regular person, regular income, especially as like an artist, oh my goodness, it's just totally different. Like what I could get for, back in Ohio for what I get here. It's just very different. But all in all, it's been good. The adjustment, it took a while. And I still honestly sometimes get confused on these trains. I don't know. You would think a decade I would get it, but no, sometimes I still forget different stuff with the different trains. So yeah. But
well, that's fair.
Yeah, like it's just, I don't know, it just is what it is. But so it took a while to adjust, but I'm still here. I'm still alive. I'm well. So.
And why'd you make the move?
So I came to work with a producer. He was like starting up a production company, and then there was like some other so I had graduated from Ohio State, and then I was working at a place in Columbus, Ohio, and someone said, I don't know, it was like some blog I was reading. It's like if you want to move to New York, you gotta save up at least like $15,000 or something like that. And so I, within like 9 months, like saved that up. Like I was so serious about moving here I saved it up, and because I lived at home, and then I didn't go nowhere, didn't do nothing. I'm not like the most like social person, so I don't like spend a lot of money, on going out and stuff like that. And so I moved here. I'm through like this mutual friend. I met like someone that was like starting up their production company, and I don't know if I'm allowed to mention the name, but yeah, like they were starting something up, and so I helped out with that, and then I got put on to, like, I met people, and then got, it's that whole New York story. I met, someone invited me to this, and then I ended up meeting this friend who put me on this project, put me in touch with this person, and then I just kind of entered into this world of doing kind of like PA work, AP stuff on different like indie films in New York. And people always, they're like, well, why didn't you go to LA? And I was like, because I'm from Ohio and my mom wouldn't let me, which sounds silly. Being an adult,
that was going to be my follow-up question.
Oh, you said what?
That was going to be my follow-up question. It's like, in terms of all the cities you can go to, like, why New York? So you just answered it already. Like,
yeah, like, why? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that was pretty much why. Like, it was not. But now I'm hearing that after Corona, a lot of people have moved from there. So it's not even, I always had a desire to maybe eventually move there one day, but now I just feel like too settled here and on this side, of the country, that I don't know if I probably, I don't know.
I feel that a lot. Like with the last year and a lot of the animation industries, like all that's been going on with it, I do still get a lot of people saying, well, at least if you were here, you'd be able to do this, that, and the third. And I'm just like, I hear you, but I'm just like, it has to be the right thing, like I'm not just going to pick up and go there because to your point, like I'm very settled here and I can still work the connections I have here along the East Coast,
Right. And
But
I also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no. I was
Oh,
going to change
I
the
was gonna
subject.
say I also would love to start like with helping to get more stuff produced and shot in Ohio. Like I would love to eventually go back to my hometown, home state, and people are shooting everywhere. There's stuff being produced everywhere. So I would love to help it. And I think Ohio, like there's all this land, all these places you could, potentially set up studios and lots. And so
That's
you never know.
cool.
Maybe I'll end up back, in Ohio doing the same thing. I would love to do that. And next
Yeah,
to my
anything's
brothers,
possible.
like I would like that.
Yeah. So I always ask all my guests, what did you major in when you went to school, actually?
Okay, so so again, like my mom wouldn't let me leave the state. So for like college. I had to go to Ohio State. So there's no like film programs out in Ohio. Like that just doesn't,
I don't know anything about
it
Ohio.
doesn't exist at all. Like I so badly wanted to go to UCLA, but with my mom, like it was out of the question. So I'm at Ohio State, and so I had to kind of they had a film studies major, and then within that film studies major, you could kind of have a focus. So I had like a film studies major, and then I also like majored in like sociology, and then did a focus in screenwriting. So I had a couple screenwriting classes. So I graduated about like what was it like 11 years ago or so, 10 something years. What 2012? What year is it? So yeah, like 11 years ago. So I hear the program is a lot more like developed now. I'm sure there's more stuff that's been added onto it, but back then, yeah, like there wasn't. It was just film studies, and that was like, and you could kind of pick a focus. So yeah.
No. What happens is a lot of times we go to school for one thing or another,
Mm-hmm.
and we end up working closely or finding our way away from it, back to it. Do you still now use anything that you've learned from college and what you're doing, which we're going to get into what you're doing, but in the things that you're doing?
No, because although
No. No,
let me
that's really
explain.
good.
A lot of, and I'm assuming this is probably for a lot of schools when it comes to certain industries, you learn like you major in something, but they're not connected to the industry. Does that make sense? And
Yes, it
so
does.
so yes, you learn the history of something, and you learn about something. You learn people's thoughts on something, but you don't really learn about the industry because you're not really immersed in that. And then the people who are teaching you aren't immersed in it either. I got lucky though. My one of my last classes was like it was like a screenwriting class, and the guy actually had just moved from Los Angeles. Like he, I think, wrote like Mermaid 2 or something like that, like for Disney, and then something else. And then like his wife was like, we can't live, just like refused to live in LA anymore. And so I don't know, made him move to Ohio. And so like his first class that he was teaching, I just happened to be in. But out of my whole college experience, that's the only person I had who had actually been, connected to the industry and had actually worked in the film and television industry. Everyone else, I think, had also maybe studied like film studies or something like that. But there was no one who really worked in the industry. So when I graduated, I was like, wow. And no offense to Ohio State, great school, like love it. But I'm sure the film program is like way more developed now. But
Yeah.
when I graduated, I was like, wow, I feel like, like I don't really know anything that could prepare me, for how to be in this industry and work and how set etiquette, just things like that. I was like,
Mm.
I don't feel like I know much of anything. And so I kind of had to learn on the way. But I remember around the time that I graduated, that's when I had the first idea for something like Sisterhood Cinema. I was like, man, I should like create something that it's like,
I love
I don't know,
this.
helps to kind of like bridge that gap for people who are kind of looking to learn more, just about the industry and it's funny, several years in, I was like, wow, all these things I've learned. I wish I just had like a class or so. I probably, it could have been like one class. I could have like, taught me all this stuff that I learned when I took me 5, 6, 7 years, And
Wow.
even up until now, still, learning. I'm like, it could have just been a class or something.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you really have to be connected to people. You have to, know others to really learn about the business and the industry. So yeah.
And I mean, that was a perfect little segue there. What is Sisterhood Cinema?
Oh, yay. So Sisterhood Cinema is pretty much like a hub for women who work in film. I put go-to hub. I don't know if it's like the go-to. Maybe I
No,
should
you better keep saying go-to.
Okay. That's what I think. I just need something catchy. But yeah, so it's a way to connect women and men too, whoever wants to join, to resources and events, internships, mentorships, just different things that are going on in the industry that can hopefully like help them in their career. Like I kind of want to be like a big sister, to women who are like entering into the industry and just kind of want to know. It started off with I really wanted to help people with help people kind of discern and distinguish between scams because like in New York City there's like that's all there is scams. People are trying to take your money, trying to make you think they can help you, be famous and, all this stuff. And so I thought like, oh, what if I started like a newsletter and I sent out real opportunities and people who read it, they would eventually kind of grow kind of like a discernment as to, okay, this is like a real thing. And then this is kind of, sketchy, Craigslist-ish kind of, weird thing. So it kind of started as that. And then I started, a huge part of, learning about different, careers and kind of what works best for you is hearing from people who actually do that. And so I started doing interviews as well, like with women who work in the film and television industry and just like, and I wanted it to be like a quick read, so I only asked like 5 questions. And, I asked them about their career, how they got into it. And, it's so interesting when like different people's stories because it's like, some of them didn't even, want to work in film and television. But then, through a series of events, they were like, oh, I would be good at this. But they didn't even know, that certain things, certain positions existed. So I wanted to be like a quick read and to try to like send it out frequently so that, people who read the newsletter, they can learn about, these different, whether it's just like a PA or not just, but like being a production assistant or, doing the makeup or costume, a cinematographer. I'm a screenwriter, so a lot of what I send out, it tends to be focused on screenwriting, but I'm trying to like balance that out more that it's, it's other stuff as well. But yeah, and the great part is a lot of those women will stay like in touch with me and sometimes they'll send me things, they'll tell people about, the newsletter. And so I wanted to kind of like grow as kind of like this, this, I don't know, I guess like safe community where people can learn about just different, things going on in the industry that can maybe potentially help them or they can pass it up. This industry is huge on like relationships and, who and helping people out. Like every single job I got, it's funny. It was like a couple of years ago, had to help me with my resume because I hadn't written one in years because every job I got was somebody saying something like about me. Like I never, I never had to like write a resume out really because everything, it's so relationship based. So every like production job that I got was through like someone else just like referring me. I didn't even have to have a resume or anything like that. And then like the most recent job I got that was a writing job, they didn't want a resume. They're like, that doesn't matter because, in production you could be doing anything there. So they wanted like a writing sample for me. And so they're like, give us your writing sample and then, we'll decide based on that.
So 5, 10, 15, who knows how many years from now, you pick, what would be your more long-term hopes and aspirations for Sisterhood Cinema?
Ooh, for Sisterhood Cinema, I would love to get like a official like mentorship program going, kind of like how Women in Animation does. Like I love that. The woman I had was like amazing. Her name's Jennifer Dahlman. She's great. And she was just one of those people. What I love is she was so like humble. So it wasn't just like about, this is her and what she wants to teach. Like she was like, no, I really want you guys to like learn from other people. Oh, sorry, maybe I should describe what the mentorship program is. So it's a Women in Animation. They have a group mentorship program where they connect you with a mentor who's been in, the industry for several years. And you kind of meet with them, I would say like once every 2 weeks, I believe it was. And then like it's usually a group. So it was like 10 or 12 of us, I think. you kind of, I guess it depends on each group, like how it goes. But the person I had, she would invite like different people each week to like speak to us. So I think we had like a woman who worked in HR at Disney, and she talked to us. We had another guy who was a producer who talked to us. Another person who talked about recruiting. So opportunities like that are just great because you meet people who are doing something that you aspire to do, and you can just kind of glean from them and learn from them, as opposed to trying to like figure out yourself. You have some type of help and someone who can kind of like point you in the right direction. So,
and have your connections from the mentorship group, outlasted the group itself?
oh yes, like that's how I actually got. So, the most recent project I did last year, where I was on this like a writer's team, was from that. Like she connected me with the guy who was over that show, and then that's how like it's. And then like a year later, I was on the show. So, or I was working on the show. So yeah. Yeah, they've definitely outlasted. And he signed up for my newsletter, and because he was on that, like he remembered me, and he also liked my writing. So that's part of why he reached out for me to be a writer, or to be one of the writers on the show.
And is screenwriting one of your like higher career goals and ambitions? But I'm saying this because I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be wrong. I'd be wrong sometimes. During the pandemic, I remember you were posting like acting audition videos, and you were taking virtual classes and all that sort of stuff. So I know you have a lot of things that you're actively working on pursuing and moving forward with. So can you just tell us a little bit about that screenwriting and why you're exploring acting or pursuing it? Maybe it's more than exploring.
Yeah, so I also act as well, yes. But I would say, in our hearts, there's always like one that's above the other. And I would say that writing is like above that. Like I've done that since like I was a child. I always just love words and writing and stories. And yeah, so that's like first love. That's like the main thing I want to do. But I also do act as well. It's something I enjoy doing. It's like it's a long story. So when how can I put this all together? So I did plays and stuff when I was younger, but I never really pursued it professionally. So it was a few years ago that I wanted to do more of like pursuing it professionally, but then the pandemic happened, so that kind of like pushed things, back a whole nother way. So yes, I do act as well, and I do voiceover work as well. But screenwriting is probably the like thing I spend like the most time
So
on.
you've officially started your voiceover career, because I remember you were taking classes on that too.
Yeah, like I've taken classes, and then I'm like auditioning for stuff, and then like I was like approached about like certain commercials and stuff like that, but there's nothing like official yet. So I don't know if I can be like, yes, it's a career, it's a definite go. But there are advertising agencies I'm talking to right now. So
That's awesome.
it's like,
I remember you were asking me for
getting
stuff,
there.
and I was like, I don't know. And I can't even completely remember if I shared with you, because now I've gotten a bit more connected to voice work, and like,
Oh, cool.
I've been meeting more people in that and finding Twitter accounts and stuff like that. So I remember at the time, I don't know if I had anything to share with you, but I'm like, I don't know anything. I'm sorry. So it's good to hear that like you've made some real progress
Yeah, like
in that.
a little progress has been made. So yeah.
So before we switch gears a bit, I want to just go back to Sisterhood Cinema and ask, partially in that and partially just you being yourself, how do you cultivate community in all that you do?
That is, I think, you cultivate community by not always seeking for things to be your own way. Like, I think that's like one of the best things you can do with community, because sometimes I see people trying to like put communities together, and it's really just all about them and kind of like, them kind of like replicating themselves in other people, or, in this community that they're trying to create. And then like, when people aren't who they want them to be or don't help in the way that they want them to help, then they don't want the community anymore. And so I believe, like, building community is really just about being grateful for whatever community you have. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to get this Discord going. It's only like 4 of us right now, but I'm really grateful for it. And I try to put my all into it and still try to, give and share. And I think that's important. I think people, it's like, oh, well, it's not until it's like huge that I'm going to put my, all into it. And it's like, no, if it's only one person there and you really believe in what you're doing, you should care enough to help out and pour into that 1 or 2, 3, people. And if that's the community for the next 20 years, and it's only, 5 or 6 of you, then, that's just,
just what it is. Your writers. That's the thing.
You said what?
They're going to be your writers,
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, they are going to be your, and you should, you should just care to want to, I just believe if you're selfless, and try to think about other people and like their needs and not try to like, be controlling. It's like, it's got to be my way and the way I, want things to be. Then you'd be surprised, like, how things will grow and accumulate if you just really take a step out of things and not try to like force things to always be your own way, but just like accept that they're what they are and that you're going to cultivate it and work on it and be happy, with what you have. So
I love
that's what I would say. It's not like, it's not millions of people, on the subscriber list or anything like that. But I'm happy for, what I've grown to in the past few years. And if it grows more, that's great. If it stays the same way it is, that's awesome too. I'm still going to continue to give as best I can and serve as best I can, and try to, grow it as best I can, because it's something like I really love doing, because I feel like the first, for years I was like, man, I wish I knew this, or I wish I had someone help me with this, or, and so now I kind of want to, in the best way. I'm only one person, I'm not, anyone's respect, or anything like that. But like, I want to be able to help, as best, I can. And so I think like, just contentment with the community you have and a willingness to always serve there and to help others and to just look out for other people, you'll be good.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And I think that was a good note to conclude the interview part. So we're going to pivot into some of your favorite animated movies and TV shows. And we're actually going to start with your TV shows first. And I'm not too sure. I feel like we haven't had someone mention this as one of their favorite shows, and that is Rugrats. So
nobody mentioned that?
Not yet.
Wow, I love it.
Yeah. So I want to ask you first, did you see the reboot on Peacock?
No, I didn't. I didn't watch the reboot. I think I saw like maybe a little bit of it, but did I watch it? No, like a lot. No.
Were you interested in seeing it, or you were like, you know what, I'm good with what I have?
I'm good with what I have. I don't know why I just didn't get, into it. Like when I was going through the questions of when, asked about like our favorite movies and television shows, I have a lot of siblings. And so like we would watch that all the time. Like Rugrats was our show. And I just loved that time period and what they were doing with, the show, and how the parents had all these very like unique, personalities and, yeah, like I really like the original. So, but I think I'm like that with like most things. When there's like a reboot or a remake, it's not like that specific one. I just don't really get into them. Even though Wednesday, I like that. I didn't finish it yet, but I didn't finish it
either. And I will say this: one reboot that I thoroughly enjoy is Raven's House.
Oh, really?
It is so good. Yeah, you're gonna have a good time watching it. She keeps a lot of the essence of Raven from That's So Raven show,
Oh, and okay, good.
She's a mom in the show, and she has twins, a boy and a girl. And Chelsea lives either in the same building or something, and Chelsea has a son. And it's just so good. It's fun. It's really, really fun. So do you have a favorite character from Rugrats?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously Tommy's like one of my fave. I also love
I love good characters.
So it's like different like episodes that I really love and what they did with the character during them. So like
perfect. Let's talk about a favorite episode or a favorite moment.
Okay, yeah. So Angelica, they had this like camp episode for her where she like went to camp, and that was like one of my fondest memories from when I was a kid. It was like we would go to camp every summer, and so I just love that one for her. For Tommy, I love like the Hanukkah one, the set the babies free, like let my people go, whatever it was. I was like, oh, that's so cute. Susie Carmichael, they had like a Kwanzaa
Yes.
episode.
Yes,
It was
they
just
did.
so well done. So well done. I feel like people try to do those type of episodes nowadays, and it's like, I don't know. It's not as seamless, or I don't know. I feel like people are trying too hard sometimes when they try to do certain holidays or diversity or things like that. Like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
it doesn't have to be that forced upon us. You know what I'm saying? But Rugrats. I just remember it being. Those episodes stand out to me, and then the movies too. I don't feel like. I
Yes.
mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't watch as many television movie remake or reboots or whatever, but like I feel like they had these movies. They were like so good, where the Rugrats would go to these different places, and I just remember and we had like the orange video cassette too.
Yes, yes.
So I don't know if it's a nostalgic thing more so than the show. I'm not even sure, but like
It could
it
be
just
both.
brings like it just brings so much joy when I remember like Rugrats and watching it with my siblings and yeah, and all the stuff, and then like the soundtrack. Soundtracks used to be really huge. So yeah.
Yeah, another show you shared, speaking of soundtrack, actually, is Hey Arnold, which has some good music for an animated show of that time. Really, really good, like, sound design and stuff like that. Why is that one of your favorite shows?
Hannah, so I heard it's the same writers too. Like I
Go
didn't
figure.
know that till I was older. You said what?
I said go figure.
Yeah, like that's at least that's what I heard. Rugrats here is pretty much like the same similar writers, I think, but the writers that were originally on Rugrats, or some of them wanted more of like a grown up show with like like but with young people. So that's kind of how part of how Hey Arnold was birthed. I think that I'm not sure if that's the exact story, but yeah. That's what I love about it is that especially now I have a different appreciation for it now. Like living in New York and being in a place that's like such a melting pot and seeing the different PSs, the different schools and stuff like that.
Yes, yes.
So I have a different appreciation for it now. But same with Rugrats. It's just the show I remember always watching, always loved it. And it's the same thing all the time. Helga still has her crush. Looking back now, though, I'm like, this is kind of creepy. But
Very much. Right? She had a shrine for Arnold.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what? Like, isn't that like?
And she had like a piece of his hair on it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no. You could get away with a lot back then, though, I guess. But anyway, it was so. It's just like another thing, nostalgia. I loved how they, again, like the relationships they had with one another and the different dynamics. Again, of like the parents. I loved how they were still like in the show and a part of the show, and you got to see like different episodes. And you learn more about people. So yeah, just another show I love, and it's funny, like things like I don't know, Halloween or stuff will come around, and it's like, what do you want to dress up? I'm like, I should do that banana. I remember when they have the
Oh
costume.
my gosh, that's so funny.
It's just one of those shows that's like always, I don't know, it's in my memory. It's right there. It's
It's like a perfect show, honestly. Yeah. And well, I have no good segue for this one, but another show that you shared with me was Daria. I will say all three of these shows have not been brought into into my show. Like people haven't mentioned them, but not to say that people don't like them. It just didn't make their like top 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so let's talk about Daria. That's a really good show to get into, actually.
Yeah, Daria, I love, and I want to know your thoughts on it because I know you kind of don't like when people try to put animation with just like little kids or anything like that. So I want to know your thoughts because it was more of like an adult show, I guess. But yeah, Daria, same thing. So I also answered Daria for like another question that you asked, but yeah, like she's the main person that people will be like, Destiny, like this is you, like this is who.
Really?
Well, yeah, because I think like right now it's like, oh, I'm so like people think I'm very outgoing, but I'm really not. I'm very like quiet, like to myself, and I'm also very not like blunt, but like very literal in a way that like I don't even like realize sometimes until people tell me, and that's how like Daria was. Like she just had this air of like she, just kind of like, annoyance by things kind of. And I feel like that's how I just come off a lot because I'm very like even keeled and I don't know. I don't feel like I really shift emotions like that much. And so yeah, same with Daria. Oh my goodness, I remember her sister too, and she was, like super popular in the high, voice. This was, great character development. Now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, what is it about these shows? Great character development and a way to keep people intrigued and engaged. Even though it's like the same thing happening like over and over, you never get like tired of it. Like outside of animation, my all time favorite show is I Love Lucy. Like that's my, and it's literally the same thing that happens all the time, but they had such good writers. Even Lucy said that. Like the writers were so, so good. So it's the same story, but it's a different story, every time, and you're entertained, every time.
Now, that's really one of my favorite things to get into is the favorite shows and movies, because people always, as they start talking about it as a collective, it reveals something to them that they like hadn't really thought of. So you're like, yeah, look at this. These shows had good character development despite like the repetition within it, and
It
that
was
kept you engaged.
It did. They really developed these characters in a way that they were kind of like they were very solid. You know what I'm saying? And so you can kind of be fluid with the story that's around them and change it. But nowadays it's weird. I feel like and I was talking to someone else about this, that there's always like this agenda or this like, and it like chokes the story. It's like, where is the story? Where'd it go? You know what I'm saying? And you don't see it, and it's like, where does like just a basic story, you don't got to do all this stuff, you know what I'm saying, like I get it, and it's like, okay, that's nice, but it's just like it didn't used to be like that. I feel like things, you just had good strong characters, and then you would ting the story for each episode a little bit, and then you have this beautiful seasons of this great show and these new different things you could do. But nowadays, I don't know. But again, I don't watch as much TV and movies as I used to, when I was younger. But it just seems like everything is kind of, I don't know. It's like an agenda, or it's like something they're trying to push out, and it comes like above the story and above the characters. When it's like, no, that is under here, and we have character. Some people character story characters. Some people believe the kind of world you're building them in is more important. But now it's just like, this is what we're trying to sell. And it comes, and it's just like, okay, I get it, but it's like there's an order to things, and I feel like maybe
I'm going to unpack that kind of stuff at a later time.
Okay,
but I want to get into. So Daria, I kind of vaguely remember watching as a child. I remember feeling very like cool because it was like older stuff,
Oh yeah.
And I was like, wow, I wonder like when I get to high school, or is it things going to be like that cool or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to revisit it as an adult though, because I feel like I'm going to relate to her way more than I realize. But it was a show that I feel like I kind of remember like Beavis and Butthead and Daria kind of being in the similar like time block.
It was like that. Yeah.
MTV VH1 or something like that. And I just felt like I was allowed to watch that show, but I always just, like I said, felt like I was being like, ooh, I'm walking on the wild side, like watching. I know, right? Watching this stuff. But I remember really liking Daria. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now we're gonna move into your TV. Now we're gonna move into your favorite movies, which was a great selection. You gave me some to pick from. So I picked the ones that, again, have never made it onto the show. And, you make me really want to like rewatch some things just for nostalgic purposes. And I don't know if I'll end up talking about it or not. But to start things off, Oliver and Company. Now, I remember being a kid, and the music in that movie, my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah. That's one of your favorites.
That's like one of my favorite. Again, like when I was answering the questions, it's just like they immediately came, because I would just think, what we watch all the time, and that like talk about me and my siblings, and that was one of them, like Oliver and Company, the Orange Cat, and then it also came, I think, out around the time of like All Dogs Go to Heaven, and like I don't know, all these different movies, kind of like that. And yeah, I just remember it being like a very, I don't know, like happy film. I wonder if there's something about the location, because it was New York, right? Like, am I correct? Yeah, it was New York. I'm just starting to realize, I'm like, oh, I'm also picking a lot of things that are New York. So I don't know if that has to also do with like living there when I'm older, that I remember, these films and shows that took place in New York. But yeah, just like you said, like the music selection, it was really good. And yeah, I don't know. It's just something that, again, brings me a lot of joy. And I think it takes us back to a time that like films were just like fun and light. You know, there's this talking cat. You don't gotta be so realistic about you know, everything, because it's animation. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be different, and you know, and just fun. And all the music was like original too. That's another thing I noticed now is that the movies, the animation movies, and this is, you know, it's not made for me. I'm not a kid no more, you know, but like the children, it's all these songs that are like already popular and stuff, I feel like. And I don't know if that's like a way to like draw more people, you know, like in and stuff like that.
Yeah, it goes back to what you're saying about there being an agenda. Like this back then, there were more songs that were to move the story along, right?
Thank you. Yes. Okay. There
Whereas
we go.
now there's songs to get like on the charts, you know, and songs to get you to buy into the product.
Oh yeah, maybe that's what it is. I guess to like get it on the charts, and then you hear about it, like it was part of this movie, and that's fine. You know, like you can do that, but it's like you said, to move the story along. It was about the story, and once you like, you know,
yes, think of part of your world, like you know, like that song. It's helping us further understand and empathize with Ariel, you know.
Yeah, and like and the different characters. That's a good point. Yeah, like
and even Oliver and Company, the song, it's like, why should I worry? Why should I care? And it's like this cat's like a homeless cat. You know?
Exactly. And also, what was the other one? It just left me. I just watched this movie recently with my sister.
Was it Aristocats?
Yes, that one.
How did I know? How did I know?
Those songs were so, you know, good. And,
yes, yeah.
But now it's just like they take, you know, like I don't want to call out a specific movie, but it was like a certain movie that came out recently, or I don't know when it came out, but my sister had me watching it, and it was like a Rihanna song, just smack dab in the middle of the film, and I was like, what is that? Was like, that was different. Like I was like, they put that song in this, but you know, but I love Rihanna. Don't hate Rihanna or anything or whatever film it was.
But sometimes it causes a disconnect. It takes you out of the movie.
That's what it is. There's certain things people do where I'm like, okay, like I'm trying to get plugged in. I'm trying to come in here, and then they do something. And it takes me back. It's like it like takes me to another place.
Because you're sitting there being like, is that Rihanna?
Reality, and that this is a modern day artist, popular artist. You know, but like you said, the music, it would keep you in that time, and again, further the story along.
Right.
Because that's what the main focus was.
You mentioned another movie already, All the Dogs Go to Heaven. Now, let's just say there's a world, because it could happen that someone has never heard of this, is completely unaware of this movie. Yeah. What is this movie about?
Like, okay, so if they're
to the best of your ability.
Unaware of it. Okay. And just in terms of like story, like I'm describing.
You know, you could say like 2 sentences. What's this movie about?
Okay. Okay. Because I'm trying to think about like the whole revenge thing and how he came back from heaven, and okay, so it's about these dogs, and then there's a main dog that comes back to Earth from heaven, and then there's a dog that tries to like take revenge on this dog, but then they find out there's like a twist. And they find out that there's more to it.
Okay.
And then they have to, how can I say this? And then they have to decide whether or not they're going to continue in like revenge, or if they're going to try to do a rescue mission. So that's my best way of putting it.
I'll take it.
It's really lighthearted and funny and Disney-like, but it's not a Disney movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why is it one of your favorites?
Again, I think they're all just connected to my childhood and things that I would watch a lot with my my brothers and sisters. And so I was born in '89. So this was like kind of part of that time period of the movies, and we were 90s kids. So we had like all the cassettes and things like that. And again, that was one of the ones that just takes, plays front in my mind. And again, it's just, it's animation. It's supposed to be fun and lighthearted, and there's supposed to be, there's story to it, but it doesn't have to be like so, realistic. It could just be light, hearted and
even with
fun.
something such as like death and life, right?
Yeah.
There could still be some lightheartedness to it.
It could be some lightheartedness to it and can be appropriate for children, and I don't know, it can just be fun. I remember when I was a kid, there was this place in Columbus we used to go to called Pizza and Play, and they would play like all the Cartoon Network, all their shows, you know what I'm saying? Like, they had such a signature style.
Yes.
And I feel like All Dogs Go to Heaven, it's part of like Don Bluth's, signature style. Like, it seems like Disney, but it's not. So just one of those, films that those, like, I don't know, they all used to have this. You would see it just like paintings, you see it and you're like, oh, that's this artist.
Yeah, yeah.
And you see it, certain films the way it used to. I'm not saying it's not that way now, but like there just used to be like a signature to it, or like a, with the way that it was developed and produced, and yeah.
Yeah. And you also mentioned Land Before Time. I know it falls into that same nostalgic watching things with my siblings category, but still you put it in there. So this stuck out more than a bunch of other stuff.
It did. You know what mostly stands out too is that like they had these like leaves, like there were these trees, and there was like this special leaf. At least the way I remember it in my mind is like, I don't know what they did with the animation. It was nothing. No fancy computers back then, but it was just really, I don't know, because the trees, the dinosaurs would like eat the leaves, and so it's important for it to look very vegetative and lively and refreshed, and that was and then there would be a time of like barrenness where I think there were like no leaves, at all, and it played like such a pivotal role in the film, the leaves. And I just remember the way they were, I don't know, animated. It felt real almost, you know what I'm saying? But it was very simple because it was like, hand-drawn animation. But it just looked so, I don't know, like so, it's like you could feel the juiciness of that leaf through the screen.
That's so
I don't know
funny.
what they did to make it look that way. But yeah, just another fun thing. When you're in elementary school, you're learning about dinosaurs. And so it was smart of them to take that route and to make a film.
Yeah, for me,
dinosaurs.
it's
or maybe this was a time that a lot of dinosaur stuff was being done.
That happens all the time. Like, there's like every so often we just get a batch of a specific thing, like a batch of dinosaurs, a batch of like, Yetis or penguins or like lions. Like, it's owls. Like, there's just like these weird production cycles.
That's interesting. I wonder what's behind that? Like,
group thought. I don't know. So I don't. I'm an only child, but I was raised close with my cousins. So I have some of my memories attached to these films. They go between, I used to watch this stuff with my cousins, and also like I was in after school. So a lot of my memories is like, oh, we watched this in after school. And that was which I should talk about one day more. But that was like my exposure to a lot of the animated content. It was essentially almost like being babysat. Like, after school, you're there, you're still in the school, you do your homework, and then you go watch a movie until your parents come and pick you up, right? So we're starting to wind down the episode now. And my first of a couple questions to you is, out of all the animated characters and content in period of time ever, which one would you say that you're most like?
That goes back to Daria again. It would be Daria.
Yeah. And with that, you can tell me, you might be a good person. So is it pronounced biopic or biopic? Because I say both all the time.
Oh, I do too. But I usually say biopic, I think. I
like saying that too.
I don't think I've ever said it out loud. I'm trying to think of how I read it. And I think biopic is how I usually...
So using animated characters, you can stick with Daria being you if you want to. You can decide not to do you, but cast your biopic using animated characters. So we'll just say like maybe you and like 2 to 3 other people in your life.
Okay, in my life. Okay, so I was gonna do my family because I was thinking Rugrats again, because they were always these. I don't know. They were always, because we were always playing together because, single mom. So we were always like, I don't know, doing something, creating something, just in this imaginary we're okay. And maybe that's why I'm such like a creative person now, but it was just always this imaginary, play pretend world that we were in, because we lived at a time like there was TV, but there wasn't, and there were video games, but it's not like now, like we all the kids have phones and
Yeah, no, not the same
tablets.
at all.
And so I came up like right in that middle, generation between like, the tech boom you see now, and then like the time when there like, really was no tech, so everybody was just like outside. So I came up at a time where it's like, I guess like a mix of both out, I would say. And so, yeah. And so I feel like that's how the Pickles, the were, and their, the friends and all that and stuff. Or Tommy Pickles and his friends were very imaginative, always getting out of the little barrier thing, the mom put up. So, yeah.
Do you want to assign like maybe one or two siblings to be two specific characters?
Sure. Okay. So I would immediately be Chucky because I'm afraid of everything. So
Me too.
So that would be me. I would give Susie Carmichael to my or maybe I should give her Angelica. I feel like my sister Tanisha is a mix of like Angelica and like Susie Carmichael, because she just, I don't know, she's very like high maintenance like Angelica, but she's very like, I don't know, down like Susie, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like she would be like a mix of two. And then my sister Dominique, I'll give her Tommy Pickles because she's a leader type. I'm not gonna be super nice to her, but like she's the type that likes to take charge with things. So I'll give her Tommy Pickles, even though I like Tommy Pickles. But I have to be Chucky because I'm like afraid of heights, things going too fast. I'm just afraid. Like I'm just one of those people. I get scared of everything. I can't go on roller coasters. Couldn't take me on no roller coasters when I was young. Yeah, like I don't do none of that. No. I need to be like on the ground, sing, like fine, like just not moving too fast, not up too high, none of that. I still hate riding planes. Oh my goodness, it's just bad. Scared of everything. But
yeah. No, I feel that. I feel that a lot. And so my last question to you is, if you were stuck on a desert island, which two animated characters would you prefer to have with you?
Okay, so for this one, I said Eliza Thornberry because I feel like she would be good, in the outdoorsy stuff. We come up with any animals, she would be friends, you know what I'm saying? We have a bigger community and whatnot. And then the second person I said was Daria, because I want somebody there who's like me. And so I just think she's really cool because she's so, chill and calm. People who are like too over the top and, I can't handle them sometimes.
Yeah.
Very chill, regular type people. Those are my type of people. And I feel like that's Daria. She's really cool. And Eliza, because,
No,
she's out there a lot. So.
I think Eliza's a really, really good choice. No offense to Daria, though. But
yeah, no offense, but like when I was thinking, like, okay, who's going to help me in this situation? Like Eliza would be a good one.
Yeah, I feel like people often end up doing like one very resourceful character and one character for like your mental being.
Exactly.
So I get it.
And you know who I also love though is like, and this isn't like a real cartoon. I don't know if it is, but like, do you remember Liz McGuire's show and how she would have this like little
that was like her
thought person or something like that?
It was like her inner voice.
Yeah, or something. I love that. She could come too if I'm allowed. Like her, she would be like, nice.
Let me just borrow your inner voice and
then like make it animate. Yeah, that's true.
yeah. No, that's super cute. Destiny, thank you so much. That brings us to the end of our episode and your time with me.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, I know this was long overdue. I don't know. I was like, I definitely want Destiny to be on the show and talk to her. And I'm so happy that we were able to coordinate and, have something happen. So can you just tell my listeners and viewers where they can go to find out more about Sisterhood Cinema? If you're cool and open with them connecting with you, what are your socials and any other additional things that you want to share?
Of course. So for Sisterhood Cinema, to sign up for the newsletter, you would go to sisterhoodcinema.substack.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Sisterhood Cinema. And then for me personally, if you want to follow me, I'm at Drops of Destiny on Instagram. That's where I'm mostly at, is Instagram. So that would be like the best place to follow me. And I usually post about cooking and knitting and stuff. So that's what you'll see on my personal page. If you like those things, that's
Love
there
love
a lot.
it. Thank you so much again, Destiny. And for everybody, stay tuned. I know I already said it a couple times, but I just want to thank Destiny again so much for being my guest in this episode and sharing so much knowledge and insight, and then just allowing us to just talk about some shows and movies that haven't really been discussed on the podcast yet, right? So, once again, my name is Monique. You can find me on all social media platforms at SimplyRobotix. That's robotics with an X, right? SimplyRobotix.com. On my website, you can watch older episodes as well. You know, I am going to be working very hard at YouTube. So go on over and subscribe on YouTube so you can see way more stuff that's happening there. I'm offering animation consulting services. So if you have an idea that you think would be great for, if it's a short film, a feature film, a cartoon series, something, and you just don't know how to get it to a place where you're pitching it in front of people, I'm offering my knowledge and expertise to help you make that happen. If you have a podcast that you've want to get off the ground, but you also are not sure how to get it started, I have a workbook and you can buy some pages separately. There's like different bundles, so you can buy everything all together and it's going to help you get your podcast going and also to succeed. Lastly, I'm offering some audio and video editing services. So again, if you're like, I have this stuff, but I don't really have the time or I'm not good at doing these things, don't worry, I got you. So all that you can find on the SimplyRobotix website. Also, you can share with me if there's any shows, movies, or things that you want me to talk about. You know, go ahead to my comments, or maybe you want to send a DM or a message some other way. And, you know, I will make it happen. As long as, you know, I'm not offending anybody or talking bad about anybody, like, don't worry. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for supporting me and see you soon. Bye.